And hello again, sports fans. How's it going? So I'm going to use the board again, so I'll sit down for a minute and we'll just want to pick up from yesterday and discuss the next thing. So yesterday we talked about getting from vision to results, and that one of the things that we miss or that we don't understand is that the missing component is often a desire or a passion to get those results. So starting from that point, I want to move on a bit and say, okay, if desire is the issue, how do we solve that? Now I want to talk a bit more about the problem before we get to the solution, because it's not something that has a simple answer. There are various things that kill desire or kill passion, which reminds me, I must tell you, one of my they're now my good friends, Joe and Rob Birch, but when they were students of mine at an early course once, and I introduced the concept of passion killers, and I still remember Rob putting up his hand and saying, I assume you're not talking about wearing your socks and baggy underwear to bed at night. So we're not talking about those kinds of things that kill passion. But what I do want to look at, the next thing that I want us to think about, I want to introduce you to another concept, and that is this. Sorry it's not green, but this is a tree. And the tree has fruit. And if we want to deal, and the fruit are bad, if the fruit are bad, what can we do? We can pick the fruit off, we can throw them away. And what's going to happen next year? We may or may not get bad fruit again. And we tend to, in our lives, we're looking at the fruit, and we're looking, and that's just a result, right? It's not a cause. What causes, if you boil it right down, what causes bad fruit? What causes bad fruit is the fact that, excuse my lack of artisticness, is that somewhere is a watering can that is watering the roots of that tree. So that tree will never wither and die as long as it's getting fed. So if a problem is a lack of desire or a lack of passion to go with what we need, then that is the fruit of a problem. It's not the cause of the problem. The cause of the problem is this. And so what we have to start to look at is, what is the cause? What is it in human beings? What is it in you and I that kill passion or that kill desire? And what is really going on? And one of the things that the way that Stephen Pearce talks about that, for example, is he talks about it as two things. We've got leading indicators and we've got lagging indicators. So, not having enough money, being in a bad financial position, is that a leading indicator or a lagging indicator? It's a lagging indicator. It's fruit. The leading indicator might be financial mismanagement, buying things that we can't afford, having too much stuff on credit, not willing to say no to things now so that we can have them later on. I'm overweight, believe it or not. Is that a leading or a lagging indicator? That is a lagging indicator. I'm overweight because of emotional eating or of eating the wrong stuff. So the leading indicator is putting too much food in my mouth, right? So we have to understand this. It's not the fruit, it's the roots. We have to go looking for the roots of what are causing us to not have desire. Now the reason I say that is that we are created to have desire. We are created to have passion. Now, I don't care whether you accept that there is a God or not. I'm not saying that as a Christian concept, although I believe it is, because we were created by God, and God is a God of love, and so therefore passion, desire, love are inherent in us. But even if you don't believe that, you think about somebody as potentially obnoxious as Hitler, had great passion about what he did. It was very, very misdirected, but he was a man of passion. And that is a natural human thing. We should be desiring to get the things that we want. That's not an abnormal, that's not a bad thing. So why don't more of us? Why don't you get the results that you want? That's why I asked you those 2 questions yesterday. And I hope you've been thinking about that. And as I warned you yesterday, I don't necessarily have all of the answers. But as we travel through this together, several of you have emailed me, and a couple have even rung me today to comment on it. And that's very cool. I appreciate that, because I want us to get a good result. I want to have a big group of people who I see getting financially free and just excited about life. And we have things that will hinder us from this every day. I'll give you a little example. I've just been offered a sports car as part of a property deal, and it's a Ferrari. And I'm not particularly into Ferraris at all. It's just been offered to me as part of a property deal, so it would work out quite well from a financial point of view for me. And so I took it for a drive, and that was a big mistake, because I've never driven anything that handles as well in my life. Totally unbelievable. This, for those of you who are car nuts, it was a 355 Spider, and phenomenal car. Just, I could not believe how cool it was to drive. And so, but the reason I'm telling you that is this is how I think. So this is how I struggle in the situation. What I think to myself is this: one, everybody who knew that I had it, if I owned it and I drove it, would think I was, excuse the French, wanker. And secondly, even though it would actually not cost me very much money to own it, a fraction of its value because it's part of a deal, everybody would assume, well, this is how I'm thinking, I'm not saying this is true, this is how I'm thinking, everybody would assume that I'm taking money that's meant to be going to Fiji and using it to drive cars and all, that's how I think about this particular thing. So that's one area where I have stinking thinking. And it's like, so I'm not allowed to enjoy this through the fruit of my ability to trade, properties well. And if I wanted to enjoy that, I doubt that I could enjoy it. I'd feel so bad about what other people thought about it, which is crap. But I hope I'll just share that with you because it might relate to many of you. But as long as I stick to doing stuff that is property related and in other areas, it's okay. I don't mind having a nice guitar, because that's not out in people's faces. People don't think, oh, you've got a nice guitar, you're a prick, But as soon as you drive a Ferrari, there has to be something wrong with you. And so that's a lie, it's a story, but it's how I think. So that's kind of relevant to this whole thing of how do we get desire, or not how do we get that, we're not to that yet, but what kills it. So what I want to just introduce, I'll expand on this. I'm not sure what will happen tomorrow because I'm speaking at Hawke's Bay at the Havelock North Community Centre tomorrow evening, so we've got to drive to Hastings and come back on Friday, so please forgive me if I don't have a blog tomorrow night, but I'll try to. But anyway, assuming that I do, if not, it'll be the next day. What are the things that kill desire? So I want to look at that quickly in 2 kind of different things. One is ourselves, and I'll just use the blue and black because I think it's a bit easier to see on the video, and others. So I would go so far as to say that when our desire is absent, when passion is absent, I have people say to me all of the time, somebody rang me today and said I had no passion. Somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but for many it's true. So I would go as far as to say that is a dysfunction. There's something wrong with us if we're not passionate about something. So there are some things we do to ourselves, or that involve solely us, some that are inflicted upon us by others. So let's look at some of those. If you've been ridiculed because you were fat, ugly, birthmark, red hair, wrong colour, weird parents. You insisted your parents used to walk you to school and you were so shamed by it. Those kinds of things. Abuse will destroy you. Sexual, but also emotional, and obviously physical. They will destroy your desire for living, let alone getting a good result with investing. So these are the two primary things that I think are common to so many of us. And I guess, tied into that is with the ridicule. If there's something about you that some people think that you're weird, I just can't think of another expression for it, that you're always an outsider. Whenever there's an in crowd, you're never it. They will cause you to become introverted and protect yourself, and you simply cut yourself off. There's one of the technical terms for it is you defensively detach, and it will kill you. It will kill you, actually, literally, and certainly emotionally. So it kills desire. But then on the other side of things, what colour pen are we going to use? When it comes to ourselves, the other thing I want you to think, so if you've got issues here, we'll get to a bit more of that tomorrow. But to finish off, so if the things that we do ourselves, I want you to think about three things. So this is homework for the night. Is I want you to think about self-talk. I want you to think about how you talk about yourself. Oh, I could never do that. If you're in a situation where you're like a sports thing, if you decide you're terrible at a sport, you more than likely will be. If you're in a situation where you are saying to yourself, I'll never get this, I'll never make this happen, this is never going to happen, I'm going to have a problem with this, what are you doing to yourself? You're just totally destroying yourself, right? So I'm asking you to think about, how do you talk about yourself? Now I want you to think about your self-image. How do you think about yourself? Honestly, no one's going to ask you. I'm not going to suddenly materialise in your room, but how do you really think? See, how do I think about myself? Well, when I think about myself behind the wheel of a Ferrari, and all I can think about is everybody who's going to think that I'm a con artist or is going to hate me for having a good car, right? So that's how I think about myself in that particular area. When it comes to investing in property, though, I think I'm good at this, and I'm honest, I maintain my integrity, I try and make it a good deal for both parties, and I'm really good at it. And so I have no issue with doing it and getting a good result. I might struggle with any number of things, and get in different situations. And I'm now starting to train myself. I'll talk more about this tomorrow. To listen to myself, listen to how I'm thinking. What is wrong with me, And so start to think about how you think about yourself. And the last thing is your self-esteem. So with that, I want you to think about how you feel about yourself. Now, think about this for a minute. If you have negative self-talk and you have negative thoughts about yourself, and that causes you to feel negatively about yourself, you've got a very powerful triangle going on there, right? Where you'll go, this isn't going to go well. I'm just not capable of doing this. I'm never going to succeed in investing. I'm never going to be able to negotiate a good deal. Look, this vendor wants to sell, but I know I'm just going to stuff it up. So you do stuff it up, right? And so then you start saying to yourself, and talking about yourself like, oh, I tried investing and it just didn't work for me. I'm just useless. I hear that often. People say to me, I'm just useless. I just can't do this. Then how do you feel about yourself? When you say to yourself and to others that you're useless, you then feel about yourself that you're useless, and you then think useless thoughts about yourself. Is somebody in this situation ever going to take a vision and get the results? No. Answer is no, never. Is somebody who's had these situations, and with a few exceptions, if they haven't dealt with this or they haven't found a way to cope with this, are they going to get from vision to results? Never. So external influences and internal influences will affect our ability to get from here to here. And what we're going to start talking about tomorrow, or if it's not tomorrow, it'll be the next day, is this is the fruit. How do we get to the root? What's the root of this? And what are some of the things that we can put in place step by step to help us cut the watering can off to the roots? And if you can relate to this, if this is making some sense to you, then I'm going to do everything I can to try and help to give you the answers, because this is the key. This is the key to life. This is the key to love. This is the key to finding God. It's the key to finding wholeness and happiness in your life, is to get to the root of our dysfunction and kill it. Stop watering it. All of a sudden, as passion comes alive, you'll have a real vision for your life. It might even change. Some of you are on journeys that you don't really want to be on, but you don't know because somebody else has said to you, this is what you should do. You've listened to me and thought, well, I'd like more money. I'd like to be successful. That must be what I'm meant to do. You can't get to here because it's not even your vision. And until we can get your desire kicked in and your passion kicked in, you won't find out what you're meant to be doing. So I hope you find this as helpful for you as I find it helpful for me. Just presenting it like this really speaks to me as well. And hopefully to see you in Havelock North tomorrow night. If not, hopefully have a blog for you tomorrow night. Look after yourself. Final thought, bookings for Wellington are going well for the workshop, but we'd really love to see you in Wellington and or Christchurch. The early bird on Christchurch expires on Sunday, so if you want to come and don't want to pay full price, you need to get in. Hope to see you there. God bless.